live a life when there's everything black and white and all of a sudden you're in that gray area. It's a very scary, lonely, isolated place to be. To not have control is a hard thing. That's all we're about, is control situations and fix it. But now this is her life. This was her health. And it was something that only time could tell. And we had to wait and see how everything would unfold.
She was a leader, always had her brother and her sister. Tracey used to use Jessie as her playhouse pal.
She was the leader of the family, the matriarch and the decision maker, and we all just kind of took her lead. And being in the military, there's always a hierarchy, and I was just accustomed to let Tracey be the leader, and I followed.
She realized the importance of serving the country, and so she decided to enroll in the Air Force Reserve Officer Training Corps program. And through that, she became very, very active.
Tracey was very dedicated in her work as a military officer in public affairs. She also was what I call a socialholic. She had a social life that was incredible. The givingness that she had, the spirit of benevolence to give not just of her time, but of her money.
She also worked as a strategic planner out of OHA. So she's had a gamut of a lot of experiences with people. New Year's Eve 2013. Jessie and I were preparing our Japanese meal for celebrating New Year's, and the phone rang in her kitchen, and it was a friend of Tracey who called and said that the ambulance just came and took her to Kuakini Hospital. She had fallen.
I just thought, wow, how strange that my sister just saw her the night before, and she seemed fine. She had a headache, and that was about it. So we're going into this blind.
She was sitting in that bed, and I sat next to her.
She just looked at us just moaning, and she couldn't move. She couldn't wave a hand. She couldn't scream. I have doctors asking me, does she do drugs? Does she, take any kind of medication? Does she have any illnesses? And I'm just saying negative on all of these things.
And that is so hard for a parent to see. But I've always said losing a child is the most unmanageable instance to any parents. So anything after that, I can manage.
They did the proper test to diagnose what she had, and that was an ischemic stroke. And then they had to inform us of the more catastrophic news, and it was a very rare illness that they call moyamoya disease.
Moyamoya is progressive cerebrovascular disease. The basilar arteries at the base of the brain begin to occlude and stop blood flow. And the brain, in its great wisdom, attempts to adapt and compensate by forming tiny vessels around the block. The Japanese labeled it moyamoya because it looks like a puff of smoke. Unfortunately, the compensation doesn't work, the blood flow doesn't continue.
She was being fed by tube through her nostrils.
She had no speech.
Okay.
She was paralyzed on her extremities on the right side.
I ate good, I didn't smoke, I don't take drugs. I was in the Air Force, so physical fitness can keep me in shape. The last thing I wanted was to have moyamoya disease.
She was going through a depression, and understanding that now she sees what has happened to her, and it was a very, very dark time for her. She had two of her best friends who were colonels come, one of them in uniform. They took her aside, I don't know what they said to her, but it took her peers that she respected to pull her out of that dark place and make her again soldier up, or I would say airman up, and get to work.
She has been very careful to adhere to all the scheduling that she had to do. And I look at that every morning on her bedside and I'm thinking, that is rigorous work. But she knew, like she said, Mom, no pain, I don't gain anything.
Tracey had two major battles. The first and most obvious one was her ability to communicate verbally. The other thing is that she had a left CVA, and so the motor crosses over her right dominant hand she couldn't use. And you don't think about it much until you lose your dominant hand. So for eating and writing and brushing your teeth and combing your hair and all of those things become very problematic.
The therapist would come and get us. She took her first step, or she said her first words. She sang happy birthday to her brother. It just came out.
I know for Tracey, who's jumped out of airplanes, who has run marathons, that just to make it halfway down the hallway was a marathon.
Rehab shows me like family.
Tracey, what would you like to do in rehab? Rehab has become priority number one.
That became her home away from home for several weeks. That's important to recovery, is to know that you may feel like you're out there in the open ocean with your life preserved, but to know that you're tethered to a great resource of people. You won't wander too far. There's always those that will anchor you and bring you back in.
We live by my father's words. You live, you laugh, you love, but you gotta learn. You look back to see how far you've come, and you gotta leave a legacy. And Tracey's done that.